Hello, everyone. We are again back with one more interesting episode of Mind Life Bliss Listen to Young Minds. Are you a teenager? Teenager is a very specific age. In fact, I should say a very important age in everybody's life. But this age comes with a lot of emotions. The emotion is coming in this age as if the floodgates are open. The emotion could be of happiness, sadness, the breakups, the relationships, and many more. And this is very important in this age that you handle your emotions very nicely. It is very important for a teenager to understand that how to address any kind of emotion if it is overwhelming. So in today's episode, we are discussing in detail about this topic, that how to handle the emotions in teenage. And for that, we have a very special guest today, Mr. Ameya from Pune. So let's welcome him. Okay, so finally, welcome again, Amey. I'm very happy to start this one more session with you with one more interesting topic. And today's topic is really close to my heart and especially to many of the students. And students means it's a teenage. So our today's topic, it's all about the teenage and why this age is so important and how they handle their emotions and everything. We'll discuss in detail. You are our guest second time in this podcast. But again, I want you to introduce yourself again to our new listeners and new viewers, to everyone.
Yes. So I have already given a pretty brief introduction of mine in the last podcast. But just to tell something about myself, I'm a writer, a social entrepreneur. I run an organization called Zeal, and I work in the psychology realm more usually. So there are a lot of shades to my personality. It depends on in what field have you met me. But as I said, um, I'm just another teenage boy who's going through all the problems that all of you are going through. And I'm just here to discuss about them. So, yes, let's begin.
Perfect. And I'm very happy that I'm discussing this specific topic with a teenage boy. Because our today's topic is specifically, if I name it, that how to handle the emotions in teenage. And that's a
Right.
very sensitive topic, and we have to be very cautious when we are dealing with this topic. So, first of all, Amya, because you are telling you are also going through this age, so you are the perfect person with whom I can ask all these questions. So,
Hmm.
can you just explain me that what are the specific emotions which a teenager has to deal with in this specific age?
I think the emotion that tops the list will be anxiety. Anxiety is in various fields, like education, be it relationships. And when I say relationships, I don't just mean the romantic ones, I mean friendships, I mean formal ones, I mean a teacher student relationship. There's a lot you have to keep up with. So I think anxiety is at the top of the list because you're anxious. Although, anxiety can also be, in the background because as we go ahead, say I am 11th grader, I'm a 12th, and actually I'm in the 12th, but let's say I'm a 11th grader, okay, and my next board exam is like 2 years down the line, but there's that constant anxiety that, okay, I'm moving towards a certain academic goal, and I think that is one major thing. There is self doubt. There's a lot of self doubt, regardless of how much you've accomplished. So even when I go out and I talk about what I have done, a lot of people do tell me that, oh my God, Ameya, you've done so much, and you're so good with this, you're with that. But I still have that self doubt a lot of times, that will I be able to do it? Will I be able to crack it? Because I might have done in the past. Maybe that's all about my past, but what am I in the present? And that happens, right? In spite of having done a lot. So that's another emotion that we highly go through. But it can be curbed. Like anxiety is something you can control. Self doubt is something I have come over a lot. Because now I tell myself, oh man, you've already achieved this. Okay, you've spoken on a stage before. All right, don't doubt yourself. It's okay. you know Even at the end of an interview, so like last time, I gave you an interview about leadership, and then I sit down and I think, oh my God, I should have said that. Did I do it well? Did I actually says, okay, what is she going to think about? Was I right? That's another, and that brings me to the third main emotion, that is overthinking. It's not exactly an emotion, but it's kind of a habit. And I think all of us teenagers overthink a lot of things a lot. And that leads to emotions like anxiety, self doubt, etc. And there is, of course, a very positive array. Sometimes, when you actually are in the zone, you feel very carefree. That emotion of not giving a damn, I'm just going to live my life out. Excessive joy at times, over smaller things, because, you know, a lot of times, we think, my life is done, it's just a rag and tag one. And, then something small happens and you feel very good. So I think these are a few emotions that we deal with very regularly as teenagers.
Perfectly said. I believe if I can summarize all these things, so the teenage comes with an emotion that you are thinking what others are perceiving about myself,
Mhm.
rather than thinking what I am this age is specifically what the other person is thinking, whether they
Correct.
are thinking good or bad, as you have rightly
Mhm.
mentioned. And these are the root cause which brings a lot of anxiety, because that's a transition phase. Like you are rightly mentioned that you are going to transition from the school to your higher education college. So certainly you have rightly mentioned all the emotions. But again, in this specific teen age, we always feel that this age is very sensitive, and the parents always used to tell their kids that you have to be very cautious. So I just want to understand that why the parents and everybody, the students as well, the teenagers as well, why do they feel that this particular age is very sensitive, and we have to handle the emotions very nicely, in a
Mhm.
in a manner that handle with caution kind of thing.
Mhm.
And does it happen that these emotions, whatever you have mentioned, that the teenagers are handling emotions first time in this age, that's the reason it has to be handled with cautions, or what is the scenario behind that?
Mhm. So, I mean, there are a lot of different explanations different people will probably give to this, but
Hmm.
my basic explanation about this is that apart from, all the adolescence, hormones, and changes in the body which make you self-conscious and all of that, that is something we all read in our science books. So
Hmm.
I don't want to venture into that. But what I would like to talk about is this is a pretty big transition phase, I believe, from childhood to adulthood. And we have started becoming mature, we have started understanding things, so we do think about, we are not very accepting towards what another person's perspective could be. So for instance, the other day I was talking to a friend of mine, and he also gives several interviews in various setups, etc., and he's also doing well. And so I'll tell you how give my interview. So I'll always have this book with me. My background is blurred, so you probably can't see, but I have a me. So when you're asking me a question, I'll usually start writing my initial thoughts down
Hmm.
on the side. Okay. And then once you're done, then, I just take a look and then I start answering. So although I've not come prepared for the interview, I always know that the moment you started asking the question, I had some initial thoughts, and, now I'm getting directed properly and I give you a streamlined answer. Um, there are some people who like to, be organized, get all the answers, write down the points and keep, and then go and read them out. For me, I do it this way. That friend of mine is more of an impromptu person. So I give impromptu interviews when I don't have the luxury to have a book with me and write points down. But he does it any which ways, whether he has the luxury to do it or not. And he likes to give the interviews in such a way that once your question is done, then he'll start rattling whatever comes from his head to his mouth. Okay. So he was asking me that, Ameya, don't you think your impromptu answers would be more natural, etc.? Probably yes, but not that my answers which I write down quickly while you're asking a question are not, because they're pretty much the same thing as he's doing, but it just helps me to give a more precise answer than, go with my oh, okay, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I don't waste my time on that. But there are two different ways of tackling an interview, but it's essentially the same ideology that we are following.
Hmm.
Now that, now we have traversed about what, 5 years into our teenage already. So we understand, he understands my perspective, I understand his. But if this would have happened like 4 years back when we were just fresh into adolescence, probably we would have understood. we would probably gotten into fight or an argument. Okay, no, no, I am saying it the right way also.
Mm-hmm.
As we are getting into this adolescent phase, there's a lot of gossiping going on. There's a lot of, you can say a lot of political kind of a scenario going on very often. There are people who are trying to show that they are superior, or, they can do things better. They are able to put things in a such a way. Or, sometimes, people become hungry for attention,
Yeah.
because they feel that they need to grow their circle, they need to have a good social circle or a good network for whatever reasons. Okay, first of all, so there are few people who think about networking and etc. There are more of them, who just want attention because that's just a phase in life. Okay, and what they end up doing is that they sometimes backstab an old friend of theirs to get accepted in a newer group.
Mm.
So what happens is, whatever happened, that friend moved on, but the friend who was backstabbed, goes into this thought process that maybe they did something wrong to that their friend took such a step, which is not exactly true. So again, the scenario of overthinking comes into play. And all of these things happen on a very broad level. First of all, not understanding perspectives, wanting attention, not understanding what is right or wrong, having addictions, finding wrong company sometimes is a big threat.
Mm.
So we hear so many drug cases nowadays. This vaping and all of these things have become so common, as if and people talk about it as if it's nothing.
Mm.
It's so these things slowly have grown. People get into physical relationships very soon, without, like, they barely know each other for a week or two, and then they end up falling out, and then they have this emotional trauma. So there are a lot of these things that keep coming on and on in an adolescent life, and that is why that is why I believe that this age is considered specifically very sensitive by the adults, by the teenagers ourselves, and probably even by a lot of younger students.
Mm. Mm.
So I think I hope I answered your question right. It's a whole lot of surge of things coming together at once, and you are exposed to the wild world, and you realize that
Mm.
it's not little anymore. I'm going to have to make a life out of whatever I'm doing. So yes, I think that's it.
Yeah, perfectly. So, basically, you have explained here that this age comes with a lot of fairy tale stories, with a lot of fantasies. It's
Hmm.
coming in this particular age. And in this particular age, there are, because in every age, there are different psychological needs. So, in this
Yes.
particular age, the teenagers are driving with only one psychological need, that is a variety, the diversity. They want to explore more and more because they have nothing to do with the security, they have nothing to do with the
Yes.
significance part. So they are just driving with the variety and diversity part. So yes, you have explained that why it is considered sensitive very nicely. Okay, one more related thing I would just want to understand from you, that in this particular age we understand that the emotional ups and downs, the mood swings, these are the just the natural part of this particular age. But how the teenagers, or if not the teen, the pre-teen ages, can understand that it is normal. It is normal if I'm having the emotional ups and downs. It is normal that if I'm having the mood swings. That is the part and parcel of this my human development process. So how we can make them understand in a better way? Though you are also going through this phase, but still I want to understand
Right.
some.
So I think it happens in itself over time also, because that's how it worked out with me. But Um, I think you need somebody to tell you, and anybody and everybody, every teen who is listening to this podcast should know that we are telling you that it's okay, it's going to happen. All right. One main thing is that, first of all, we are so busy, a lot of teens, who are driven towards their future. There's two sets of teens, who are living in the present, they are just whiling away time. And there are some who are very driven to their future, very focused.
Mm,
There are negatives for both.
mm,
Often, they say that the driven teens are the good ones. No. Okay, so even if you're driven, you sometimes you get so stuck with your aim that you forget that you want to live a wonderful life in the future. I know, but you're living a life right now.
mm,
Live it, right? So that is one thing. So the excessive anxiety that we build up should not be there. And this is something I learned probably just 2 years back, just when I passed out of 10th. And when your 10th, you give so much of importance to it. When your 10th results come out and it's all chillax and you're already halfway through 11th, you're like, what was the big deal about giving the 10th grade boards? I mean, what
Yes.
what did we achieve out of it as such, So, and that is when, sometimes the realization hits that, okay, I mean, yes, you died to get that 99.2, but it was nothing more than a ceremony and a certificate. I mean, of course, it was pretty honorable, but I mean, you have a life ahead of that again. So, that's not the end of it. So that is when, one thing you need to realize. There's another thing where acceptance needs to play a role that, okay, we had to part ways, that friend was probably not the best one, or um things happen, there are people who, who will try to dig on your personality, who will try to badmouth you at times. I have experienced this a lot, so when you are usually good at your academics, or you're
Mm.
probably good at sports, when you're good at something and you're praised for that often, or your teachers speak about you, there is a general, certain people will start feeling envious, certain things will happen. Initially I used to feel that, am I doing wrong? I mean, should I not do so much? Should I give others chance? But once or twice I actually stepped back. Okay, I'll not participate, let's see what happens. Nobody did. It was just blank space, and then I ended up participating. So I realized that it is not that I am who is holding them back. They themselves are doing it, and they are trying to hold me back too. Why should I hold myself back just because they are judging me? And that came over time, and then I realized that I don't need to hold myself back. I don't need to care what they are saying, because none of that is true. And they say over time, your inner circle starts growing smaller and smaller. And I've seen that happen. And I realize that I cannot trust everybody who out there. I cannot get connected emotionally to every person out there. I need to know who is really willing to stay, who can accept me for who I am. Okay. uh I have this habit, whenever I achieve something, I win something, I've spoken about Tanishka, that's my friend. I've spoken about, I have a friend called Nikita, I have a friend called Pratik, a friend called Samantini. These are, my closest people. All right. And whenever I win something, I do something, and I go and tell them that, Pratik, I just won this, or Tanishka, I did this. And they're very happy to know about it. They first off are not jealous of what I have done. Second off, they don't think that I'm boasting about what I've done, because they know that I'm least interested in telling them what boasting about what I'm doing, because they all are also doing pretty well in their lives. And, we are past that stage now. We have been friends for a long time. We are past that stage that we have to prove anything to each other, or, we need to show it off to rub it in each other's face. We don't do all of that nonsense. There are people who trust me from the heart and soul, So today, anybody on the planet can come and tell me that Pratik is wronging me, and I won't believe them. I'll ask Pratik 100 times, and even if he says that, yes, I'm wronging you, Ameya, I'll still not believe him. So these kind of relations, so, we need to start focusing on these kind of relationships, and, start accepting that people out there are just going to be that way. बोलते हैं ना, लोगों का काम है कहना. They'll keep talking, And we need to know that I don't care anymore. Okay. And then they say that you have become careless, heartless, cold. Doesn't make any sense. For you to grow, you have to grow with just 5 people around you. The others will come and go. As friends, I'm saying. And there's one thing, I just strongly believe in. When you have to discuss a problem, discuss it with one person. I don't know, I read this somewhere that, when you just have to ask for help to one person, you really need help. When you have to ask for that help to 5 people, you need attention. So keep that in mind. Don't make a lot out of your problems. Okay. There's a beautiful song called Quarter Life Crisis I mean, that is slightly ahead of teenage, but it's a wonderful song. I think everybody should listen to it. And there's a song called Peer Pressure. There are wonderful songs out there. I think music and books are something that you can immerse into to actually realize, because the literary world actually helps you accept
Hmm.
ups and downs that will be in your life, to accept that these things are normal and it's okay to feel these emotions. If all of this, even after all of this, understanding, being mature enough, trying to, curb your inner circle down. Social circles should be big, but inner circle should be small.
Yeah.
After getting into music, getting into reading, getting into writing or journaling, if these things at the end, after all of this, it doesn't help, then you could probably meet some therapist or a good counselor,
Hmm.
specifically in your situation, help you wade your way through. But usually these techniques usually help, and that's what has helped me, and I think that's what I would like to share.
Wonderful. I'll just like to add, your answers reminded me so many things. And yes, because I went through my teenage with you by
Yes, of
listening your
course.
answers. And definitely, you rightly said that success comes with a lot of criticism. And the day you start getting criticism, that is the first sign that you have started doing something. And the moment anybody understands that, yes, now the people have started noticing me. So that is the sign that I am doing something else, something different from the pool. So that's a
Mhm.
very good thing that you have started observing about yourself.
And even
And
there's this, I'm sorry,
yeah, please,
it's
please.
one thing, when you shift your academic background, so, you move from ICSE to HSC, you move from these different bodies, even if you move from a lower board to a higher board, whatever it is, you find yourself in a different academic background, and your thought process does not match with the people around you.
Hmm.
I had a very rough time, gelling in with students of HSC, not because they were bad or wrong or dumb or anything of those sorts, but their ideologies, their mentality is so different from what an ICSE student is. Very, 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 very philosophical. They're practical, they know exactly what to do, but they're very philosophical. They believe in a lot of courtesy, they believe in chivalry, the girls will believe in, being ladylike. All of this, comes with being an ICSE student, because you learn Merchant of Venice and Julius Caesar and Shakespeare. And it has to follow over the years, because that is what these ICSE schools essentially teach you, especially the convents. And I was from a convent. But, your while HSC students are very practical, they are very street smart, very rooted
Hmm.
things. And your ideologies just clash. Okay. So if I'm getting out of a rickshaw, I have this habit. I'll always say thank you. Okay. And I will, thank them, I'll greet them. They used to get very annoyed with me. I mean, what you're saying thank you to that rickshaw wala? I mean, they were probably not wrong in their perspective. I was not in mine. And this is just a basic example I'm giving you. There are a lot of things, but that is very personal to me. But
Yeah,
there are a lot
yeah.
of things that keep happening. A lot of ideologies clash. And sometimes you have to let go of some people in that. And it's okay again. You, just because your ideology did not, and now I am in a essentially HSC space. Okay. So most of the students around me are SSC students. So my ideologies crash with them. So I usually don't gel up with a lot of them. I gel up with one or two. So just because my ideology does not match with the multitude that I am in, doesn't mean that I am wrong or my ideology is wrong. Take me to that ICSE space, I work wonders. I'm the best. So that is again another thing. I just thought I should mention that academic background thing. Yes. Sorry.
Definitely, definitely. You rightly mentioned. And it requires a lot of sensitivity to understand that, yes, if they are not able to understand me, it doesn't mean that they are wrong or I am wrong. So it requires
Hmm.
lot of courage and understanding to understand this
Yes.
point. Very beautifully mentioned all these things. Now I'm asking a little sensitive question about you rightly mentioned one specific point. You mentioned in your replies that when you got very high percentage in your class 10, so how long did you feel that emotion? Maybe for a week or maximum to a month, not more than that. But in this specific age, if any student uh, is going through any kind of emotional trauma, Emotional trauma could be related to any kind of relationships or any heartbreaks. So, or there could be other reasons as well for that emotional traumas. Maybe some students are highly inclined towards their studies. So, if they are getting less marks or they are getting bullied in their classrooms for anything or for everything. So, how do you take these emotional traumas? Because usually, what happens at the duration of these traumas, nobody can define. It can last up to 1 day or it can last up to 10 years as well. So, how you will explain that? What are the actual reasons for these emotional traumas? And whatever things I have explained you, just few examples, one or two, are these the actual reasons for these traumas, or there could be a bigger picture as well?
So kind of a listing kind of a thing.
Mm.
There are several reasons. One is, as you rightly mentioned, is heartbreaks are very major and very commonly seen because, as I said, people just get into relationships like eating Skittles. They just, they're just popping chocolates. It's
Hmm.
very funny, to me sometimes because I have never been like in a proper relationship with anybody as of now. So like in a romantic sense. So I don't know. I mean,
You can mention, that's no problem at all here.
no, no, no. Of course, I would if I would have been in one. But because I mean, being from a very very philosophical point of view, I have a lot of specifications. I'm of those kinds, and I have a lot of things that I believe the person I'll be with needs to have in them, and that is when I will take the decision of stepping in and saying, okay, probably we should be in a relationship. But the way things happen. So as I said, I also counsel a lot of students. Okay, so I usually help students deal with a lot of trauma, changing environment, etc. And I just come across people who have been, I mean, the barely is 15 or 16 and they have been like in what, like 20, 30 relationships, and it's awful. Like, I mean, how do you first of all get so emotionally occupied, and if you got so emotionally occupied, how were you able to so quickly free your emotional space to have a new relationship? This is something. And let me tell you one thing, that they never ever have emotionally freed themselves before they get into a newer one. And then everything keeps one on top of the other, it keeps clogging and shelving and shelving, and one day it's an outburst, and then you have them going into drugs, them going to suicide, and very few have the brains to go and meet a therapist. So relationships, like romantic ones, they have a very very big bane sometimes. The need to listen to everything that your partner is saying. I mean, at this point of time, when you're trying to make a life, trying to make a career, I don't find, as grandpa-ish as I sound, uh, I feel that it's not the right time to go through. And as I have spoken to a lot of psychologists, I spoke to this, there's this lady who used to come, Sapna Shah, at our school, and I remember she told us once that in this age you cannot fall in love. I mean, you don't have the capacity to fall in love. It can only be infatuation, it can be a crush, it can be, just attraction, but it will never be love. So you have to, first of all, you have to be mature enough to fall in love, and need to know, if you are going to fall in love with somebody, who from a childhood, you need to know them for a very, 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 very long time. So that is very necessary. So I think that is in one. Second is bullying, body shaming. These are things that happen a lot in schools nowadays. And there's no specific way that the school authorities can put a check on it, because what will they do? Send one child home, the others will do it. How many students will they send home, right? So I think we need to start coping up with it. But that kind of trauma can be, self-doubt. People start cutting themselves, they start making bruises, they start hitting themselves, that kind of trauma is there. Then there's a problem with just generic relationships, like friendships, and kind of um people around, not being the way you expect, um giving more than you receive, that kind. And as you grow and start growing in your teenage, and you start getting a little more mature, you start realizing that students do these experiments. Okay, I'll not text that person for 2 days. Let's see what happens. And that person never reverts only in 2 days. Never, they don't care to call you, text you. And then they start feeling bad about themselves that am I making myself too much available? That is one thing. Then there's again, as we spoke about, when you start achieving stuff and people
Hmm.
not liking you or people start feeling, inferior. So
Yeah.
you are not having a superiority complex. You are not going and rubbing it in their faces. They are just looking at you and are feeling inferior. That's their problem.
Hmm.
This is something, somebody very influential in my life explained to me that, when I passed out of 10th and there was all of this, 99% and all of that going on around me. And I had done, so many things, I was achieving and I was winning competitions and everything. And there was a point when I just moved to the SSC background. That was the worst part. So, um, that is when, one of my very good mentors told me that, Ameya, they are not matching what you're doing. Okay, you go out and talk to the people who match your caliber, who match your ideology. Think what they're doing. Okay, and as vain as it may sound, you need to sometimes realize that this is not the place for me. I have to be here due to some reasons. That's okay, but ignore. So that, kind of putting that barrier is absent, and that kind of gets to a lot of people. Thankfully, it did not get to me. I met the right people at the right time, but it gets to a lot of people. I have seen people give up on their passion just because people started judging them.
Hmm.
That is kind of a trauma. What else could it be? There's bullying, there's heartbreaks, or there's academic trauma, of course, not scoring as high as you want, right? So I don't know. There was these news I have heard. I don't know how true they are, but there were students who scored 99s and they still wanted to score more, so they reappeared for exams.
Yes, these are true news.
Yeah. And it makes no sense to me. Like if you're scoring a 99, by no chance would I re-give my exam. So I mean those and there are people, who score really, really low and then they get and there are people who are very happy. Okay. So I think I just recently read about some CBSE student who got 35 marks in every subject and some perfect 35 or something. And his parents are so proud of him and he's so proud of himself. But I mean, God forbid, but what if 2 years down the line he realizes that this 35 marks is not helping me? So there are various kinds of these traumas that keep happening. So I think I've summarized the major ones.
Yes.
And yeah.
Okay, so again, always your answers gives me a new question in my mind. So, you told that there are definitely a different kind of traumas, and one very important point you mentioned that how the school will keep a check on the bullying, on all these other parts. But here again, I want to ask you that whatever topic we are discussing today, do you feel that again, I'm just asking from the educational perspective, do you feel that the education system in India makes our teenagers so empowered? Like you was fortunate so that at the right time you get the right mentors who could guide you. But do you think that the education part is so good, yes, so meticulously formed so that it empowers our teenagers to handle these emotions in a better way and make them understand that it is the necessary part for them? You need to go through that. That's a I could say that's a ocean of change. You need to cross it. There is no substitute for that. So do you think the education can play anything to that? Do you find some lacunas in the education because you are almost about to through from that school education part?
I think there are a lot of lacunae that can be filled in the Indian education system in specific because in the Indian education system, the sheer kind of focus that we have on marks and scoring and standing first and getting through that college, getting through that exam is very stressful for a lot of students. Okay, so I know that 99s and 98s are very beautiful marks to some, but doesn't mean that the student who scored 90 did not work hard. Okay, score touching 90, in my opinion, is a great achievement.
True.
Scoring 95 is even more tough and very good. Okay, and students, this is one of my teachers was telling me that the students are not even happy even if they have scored a full 95. She was like, How much more do they expect? But then the students told her that Miss 95 gets me nowhere today. I cannot. This is probably, with the kind of reservations we have, with the kind of, I mean, I know that the people have well thought out of it. There are policymakers sitting there, who are probably very much more experienced than I am, and they understand the nuances much better. But I personally feel that that kind of depresses a lot of smart students also, that I have seen. I don't want to name any of them, but there are a lot of these students, who just go on and on and on. They try, and at the end they just give up. They are like, that's the end of it. I don't want to try.
To hold on your answer here.
Yes,
I don't know what
yes.
is happening. It's a lot of power
It's
cut
okay.
at my
It's okay.
place. So here I have to cut that part.
Yeah. I'll just repeat from the where I
No
spoke
issues.
about, the
I'll just
teacher
make the
talking
answer. No
about.
issues. I'll just do the
Yes,
editing
that,
part of
yeah,
mine.
so that
That part I'll do.
yes.
How's the weather in Pune?
It's good. I would say very unpredictable nowadays. It just rains anytime, it's cold anytime, it's warm anytime. You can never guess at all.
Hmm.
Big problem. But it's pleasant. As of now, it's pleasant.
Good.
Oh, Tanarika is in which board right now?
CBSE.
So what does she plan on doing? The
Hmm.
plans on doing like proper engineering science the normal way, or she plan on doing some?
As of now, she's clueless.
Okay, she'll realize over time. By 10th, she'll realize.
Yes.
Let her, just give her some direction as to that she needs to start thinking, because if she plans, say, she feels like going abroad or something, if she starts from ninth, it is a very good time, because if you have worked for 4 years, then you have a good portfolio, it is very much possible for you to go on 100% free. Like, you can go free to any good university. So,
She
because usually
she'll
I'm,
take a lot of guidance from you,
yes, yes, yes,
undoubtedly.
for sure. I'll surely provide that, because our Indian families, our main concern is the expense, right?
Obviously.
So I think if she starts working now, I had no plans of going abroad. I was the IIT guy till 10th. So then it changed over time. Now let us just think broadly.
Sure.
Yes,
Yeah,
just
you can start.
yeah. So one of, like, with these sheer focus on marks, one of my teachers recently was telling me that students are not happy scoring 90 and 95. How much more do you want? And the students were like, Miss, we get nowhere with 95.
Hmm.
And that was true. I mean, not that she didn't know that it wasn't true, but she was basically very rhetorical about it. And she felt bad that a student is working hard, grinding, burning that midnight oil to get to that mark, and they're not satisfied. So I think these reservations and all play a big role in this. There are a lot of these good students, I see, nowadays, and they're just churning and churning, and they just keep working hard, and at the point of time, they just give up. Like, never mind, Ameya, let's just do something else. And they kind of let go of their dreams, they just become uninterested, they lose their passion for what they were doing, because they just know that at the end, somebody who scored very, very less as compared to them might even get it.
Hmm.
They didn't. And not that, that person did not have resources. He sat in their own class right beside them, in better clothes and in better cars. They used to come and, they attend. So, I mean, I don't know. See, again, I am just a teenager, just a 16-year-old boy, and there are these big policymakers sitting there. They, of course, know the nuances better. But somewhere, I think that this holds a lot of us back, or this probably or even causes a lot of brain drain for India. It's sad, in a point of view, because how much will that child work? Should that child have time for themselves or not? And economic needs and all of that is understood, but sometimes just all these kinds of castists and all these reservations kind of, this is a very controversial statement that I'm probably uh it just gets to you at a point of time, and you just say there's no point doing this, there's no point giving this exam, because at the end, how much, just by these few marks I might just remain and these kids will go.
Hmm.
And this somewhere sometimes breeds prejudice. and then things turn for the bad. And that is where, bullying and trauma and kind of self-doubt starts venturing in. So that is a big major problem in the Indian education system. As far as what they can do is introduce moral science as a proper subject in school, make probably a grade necessary for moral science, that if you don't get specific grade or above, you can't clear this exam. um so that people take this subject more seriously, because a lot of schools do have moral science, but it's just like a supplementary period, where
Just clear. The student even skip that subject.
yeah, so they just don't bother to really attend. So good counselors, good emotional support needs to be there, and clarity of what the future holds. That is something the Indian education system can provide, because um, everybody just blindly wants to do JEE. Do you even know what JEE is? Or people want to do NEET. Do you know what NEET is? Or say,
Mm.
do you want to pursue education abroad? Do you know what is required to be able to pursue that education? All these kinds of information, because often what happens is till 10th, students are focusing, okay, I have to give my SSC, I have to give my ICSC, I have to give my CBSE. And once they're out of 10th, they're just, oh my God, I have to do this, I have to do that. And like, okay, I have a lot to do now and I'll somehow manage, but I wasted 2 years of my life. And then, it all just gushes to like, dude, why didn't I do all of this? So I think that is something the Indian education system can really, really work on. First is emotional support. Second is good moral science, moral value.
Mm.
And the third is essentially showing the students clear picture of what the future holds of different aspects. There was this one sports club near my house where the teacher used to make the students play every single sport that he could teach. And then, the style himself used to understand that I have a spark in this sport, now I'll join this. And then they used to get streamlined into that. That was such a smart way of doing it, no? I mean, rather than the child just coming and saying, I want to play tennis, maybe he's good at basketball and he joins basketball. So I think something on those lines can be introduced. Again, I know it's a pretty rigorous thing to do, but
Exactly.
if
Hmm.
hopefully one of those great individuals who are into policy making for education in India happen to hear this. This is something, probably I would really want to see change in Indian education.
Great. In fact, the purpose of this podcast is only that so that the voice of our youngsters reaches to the right people someday and they can understand what actually they need. So that rather than thinking from their perspective, they should start thinking from the other sides of the coin, that what is the
True.
need of the hour. So
Yeah.
rightly mentioned, they need a lot of hand holding, and most importantly, they need somebody who can tell them that whatever you are feeling at this point of time, it is right. You have to just go through that. And now I'm coming towards the end of this discussion with a very again a sensitive question, that undoubtedly for the last few minutes we are discussing about that in this particular age there are a lot of changes. There is a high adrenaline rush in the body. There are lots of hormonal changes, and it's all will go. Nobody can stop that because you are bound to go through that specific phase. But still, in this challenging scenario, how the teenagers can understand that it is a phase of in which they have to live their life, they have to enjoy these moments, they have to cherish this important phase of their life forever, they have to build their memories. So along with this all these clutter and all these things, how they can understand that they have to enjoy.
Hmm. So I think with the adrenaline rush, the first thing that comes is impulse. We do a lot of things impulsively. You click on. Recently I started teaching at my own school. At Hutchings, and just for 2 3 weeks, I'm just in place of another teacher who's not able to make it.
Great.
For eighth and ninth, I'm teaching computers. So when my teacher called me and she said, Ameya, would you like to do this? Because essentially she's already taught everything. It's just more of a revision thing. They just need to be guided in the revision, and all the worksheets she has just sent, I just have to kind of help them out. Maybe teach a small little thing that I left. So when she told me that, you have the opportunity to teach at Hutchings without skipping a beat, I said, yes, 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 miss, I'll do it. I'll do it. without thinking what my schedules are, without thinking that I am at 12, without thinking I'm running in an organization. I had nothing on my mind, but I'm going to teach at Hutchings. It's a proud moment for me because I'm just 2 years out of that school, and I getting to teach to, and not just some smaller grade, but like eighth and ninth, like computers,
It
essential one.
matters a lot.
Yes. So, and it's a very different kind of an experience. So I did that, and it was a very impulsive decision. And then once I put that phone down, I couldn't pick up and say that no, miss, I won't come, okay? Because now I've given my word and to my teacher. So that's the end of the discussion. Now I sit down and eh, yes, I have 12th. Now I have my classes starting from tomorrow. How am I going to adjust them? I have classes in the evening also, so I cannot push them to the evening. I'm gonna have to manage the another internship I'm doing right now. I have to manage the two courseworks that I have to complete. I have to manage Zeal. Now what am I going to do? My school has jammers. I cannot use my phone at school, so I cannot do any kind of work at school. Okay, it's not. I'm stuck. Okay. Then for a millisecond, I regretted that. Should I have taken that opportunity? Was I wrong? And then I started thinking, and I felt wrong, and I felt bad about like shit, Ameya, what's wrong with you? It was very impulsive of you to do this. But then, as I said, I've traversed that path for 5 years now, I believe, and I'm proud of myself for that because I just sat down and I said, now you said yes. What can you do? You can't do anything. You can't say no now. It's all done. You just have to figure a way out. And then you automatically figure a way out. I started figuring things out. I started putting my timetables into position. I started doing all of what, I needed to do. And now I'm going to school every day from 7 to 2 in the morning. I'm doing my classes in the evening. Whatever classes I'm losing, I'm covering them up on my weekends. Zeal and everything is in place. I have automated a little bit of work. Everything is running smoothly. And I am getting to teach at Hutchings High. I just told myself that the impulse was okay, and probably, you had that impulse for a reason. You're not No teenager is constantly impulsive, like 100% impulsive, right? So that is there, just trust your intuition in a way. So that impulse worked out. So this is one thing about impulsiveness. Secondly, these emotional ups and downs that that all teenagers have, that we go through, that we keep facing. After a point it comes by itself, but I think you should try to imbibe it initially already, that it's going to happen. You can't change it. Okay, there is nothing you can do about it, and that does not make you helpless. You and plethora or a platter of opportunity to wait to tackle a new set of issues, to be able to solve something big. Become that problem solver. Look at yourself as a problem solver. Become a change maker. Change things for yourself. Take, you know I remember there was one time in my life, okay, in just recent past, in 2 years back, I was out of 10th, and there was a lot of things on my plate, and I was not understanding what to do. And I was having this chat with Tanushka, on WhatsApp, and it was like, Tanushka, I just feel so helpless at this point of time. So many things happening. What all should I look at? Should I do my academic? Should I look at my friends? Should I don't know what to do. And she just says, Ameya, take hold of things. Take those reins in your hand. And that that one single message just kind of sparked that thing, like, yeah, I mean, it's my life, I am going to lead it, I'm a leader, you remember. Why not take reins in your hand? Do it. Make that change. When you will start realizing this, it starts becoming easier. And the moment you start doing all of this, don't get into negativity, don't get into problems. People are gossiping, let them gossip. You don't become a part of it. They're gossiping about you, never mind. There's somebody wonderful thing I've heard. When people are talking behind your back, there's a reason. They're behind you. Don't care about them. You keep moving ahead. They're going to remain where they are. Imbibe all of these things. Again, some you cannot be just go on and keep bad mouthing everybody. Oh, I know you speak behind my back. Oh, I know you are a bad person. Don't do that. Whenever the person's in front of you, yeah, yes, smile. they are, just smile, just talk to them, yes, on an upper basis, and then let them pass. Okay, because there's another thing I read, okay, that I don't care what people speak behind my back. When in front of me, they're on their best behavior. That is a
True.
smart way of looking at things. That don't care what they're doing, because remember, as I said, they're behind you. They're probably intimidated by you, and you are not doing. Okay, if you're doing something that you are going and rubbing it in their faces that I am doing this, you are not doing it right, then you are probably going wrong. So change it. But otherwise, there is no reason for you to feel bad about anything. Imbibe it. Accept the things that are going around. Have those four people that you hold close. Talk to them. I understand sometimes it's difficult to talk to your parents. Sometimes it's difficult to talk to even a mentor or a counselor, because they are not your age. They are not somebody that know you in and out. It's okay. Especially in another, I think I missed this point earlier. One of these another reasons for trauma is not being able to do what you want to
Mm.
educationally, if you want to follow a certain passion. Because today's parents, there, a lot of them are focused on engineering and doctoring, when especially when the child is smart enough. And they're not wrong, because this is what they are seeing around them. The good students, the clean students usually go in these. But you need to understand that you will eventually find a way out. As I said in my last interview also, one day you're going to get up, and probably just when you get up, or maybe in the middle of the day, or just before you sleep, things are going to change massively, like a divine intervention, like a miracle. Things are going to start taking an upward turn. So, just keep going with whatever is happening. Just make sure that you don't, lack in any sense. You keep growing, you keep doing things the right way, and just grow and flourish. Don't associate your feelings with what people think. There will be people, especially when you walk out of your school, you expect a lot of students to, or a lot of your friends to hold on. But, slowly people drift. And just, out of those 10, only one will remain probably. It's okay. Understand that that person remain. Move ahead. Because at the end, when you're going to be at the top, wherever, that CEO position, that owner position, that business position, that head architect position, whatever you want to be, it's just going to be you and the four people you collected on your way. One from your school, one from your.
100%, 100%.
Accept that, imbibe that, and move ahead. And I think, yes, when you stop doing all of this, when you stop subjecting yourself to others' opinions, when you stop, uh, you know, going into a lot of self, you get, basically, you take the reins in your hands. I think you are able to be stable. Furthermore, enjoy. Start making change in the world. Start doing smaller internships. Start probably, if you can, in any small ways, earn a little bit. Find joy in smaller things. Find smaller things in which you can, pull joy from. Start doing what you like. Don't get stuck in the rat race of these big exams. I know they're important. Yes, please do give them with all your rigor, but don't lose yourself on the way. Do a lot of fun things, meet people who inspire you, go ahead, hit that, you know target, and just live a life. Let live. Take a break sometimes. Just probably 1 or 2 days a month is not a big deal. Take a break in the evenings. Just go on long drives with your friend. um Go out, live a life. Live as if there's nothing left in the world now. It's just you and your friend, and you're going on a long drive, having food on the way, just enjoying. Just go out for a movie. Do all those small things in life. Enjoy. And that is when you'll be able to rejoice this young phase of your life. Because as you go ahead, and I have not been in that phase as of now, but I believe that as you go ahead, and you'll start getting stuck up with work, start getting into that system of trying to get promotions, trying to move ahead in your career. As nice as it is going to sound, if you're doing a career of your choice, it's going to be fun, but sometimes it's going to be tiring. You'll never have this kind of free time again. You'll probably have a family to look after. The responsibilities will come along. So be that vagabond personality of yourself for a while. And I think, with no strings attached to you, just live your life out there. And I think that will, for sure give you the kind of life that you want to live. Because realize one thing, that this cycle of worry and this cycle of I have to achieve this, I have to do this, is never going to end. till you take your last breath. You have to keep proving to people, you know, to get that best score, to get a promotion, to get the highest position, to win, to be able to establish a business. Every time there's going to be something on your head. But this kind of no responsibilities on your head situation is never going to come so soon again, right? So go ahead and live out. I think that's
Wonderful. Wonderful. And this entire discussion just reminded me a beautiful story of Dragonfly, which I'll narrate sometime when I'm having a lot of time to narrate this story. But the teenager and this special phase in your life, whenever you get time, this I'm telling to Amay and to everybody. Just go through the life cycle of a dragonfly. It will teach you a lot about this specific age. You are attached to the stalk, but yet at the same time, you are ready to fly. You are ready to transform. Even a dragonfly's larva never knows that the larva has to be transformed into a dragonfly. So it is about the teenager life. They do not know that what is lying on the other side. So don't get stuck. What Amay is saying, don't get stuck. And yes, whatever he has said, in addition to that, whenever you are feeling low, just listen to this podcast so that you will feel you will feel more elevated. You will understand that if you are having that kind of maturity at this age, with this boy is having who is just sitting in front of me, so, no matter what comes to your life, because challenges are never ending. Nobody can tell you that challenges will not come to your life. It will keep on coming. It will keep on hitting you hard every day, every moment. But if you are preparing yourself day by day, inch by inch, so you are ready beforehand to handle all the challenges and to enjoy every moment, every bit of a second in 100% manner. So every phase of life, like the teenager, is a beautiful phase of life. Just enjoy it to the fullest. वो जो जिसको बोलते हैं ना कि ऐसे पूरा मन भर के enjoy, that kind of enjoy. Very nice, Amay. Any final things from your side on this special topic?
Short summary, things that are happening around you. It's not a big deal, okay? And people are going to expect from you, your parents, your people around you, they're going to have expectations, they're going to have grudges, everything is going to be there. You know, I have done a lot in my past 3 years, and I've opened organizations, I've led ways, I have achieved a lot in a certain sense to say. But in spite of being national award winner and all of that, I still go through all of this, and it's okay. Find a comfort thing for yourself. My comfort is sitting in the window with a cup of hot chocolate and writing a story. That's my comfort. So, or probably just reading a small story that I like. Find something that comforts you. I love listening to One Direction songs or the Five Boys solo songs. Find inspiration in people. Find people you look up to. Find mentors. I have One Direction. I have Simon. I have Amritsar that I really look up to. Listen to this very soothing music. Any kind of music that suits you. For me, it's One Direction and the Five Boys solos. Do that, and you will wade your way through. My last thing that I want to say is that please don't forget that yes, you're trying to make a life, but you're living one at the moment also. So please live it to the fullest and be carefree. Don't care what the world is saying, don't care what is coming your way. Just keep spearheading like an arrow shot in the air, which cannot stop. Just keep going straight and live your life like it'll never come back.
Wonderful, wonderfully summarized. And if all the listeners who are watching this show, if you feel that you want to be at the place of Amay, want to share more about any interesting topic which you feel it is close to your heart, so you can write to us. The details are in the descriptions. Thank you, Amay, for this amazing discussion. Yeah.
I also like to just add one thing. If anybody feels like they really want to talk to me, or want to have, because I do counsel a lot, or just want to have an open end, not just like, don't take me as a therapist or a counselor and like a
As
formal,
a friend.
as a friend, just as an open ended discussion. Please do message me or call me or text me. My Instagram ID is author underscore Ameya underscore Surve underscore official, and my phone number. I'm very free with my number. It's 9890013064. Please drop a text, call, do whatever you want, and I'll be there. I'll help you out. I'm glad to do that.
Yeah. And one more addition I'm doing it. He will help you to crack to your exams because he scored 99%, so he can show you the way how to do it. So do write to him. I'll share all his details in the description. Thank you. Thanks a lot for this lovely discussion.